Welcome to Big Blend Radio with your hosts, Lisa and Nancy, editors of BigBlendMagazine.com.
You're listening to Big Blend Radio with Nancy and Lisa, publishers of Big Blend Radio and TV Magazine, as well as Parks and Travel Magazine. And today we're excited to have Victoria Chick back on our show. Victoria is a contemporary figurative artist and early 19th and 20th century print collector. She's also, quite frankly, an educator, and she's taught me a lot about art history over the years on our shows. Nancy, wouldn't you agree? Victoria's like, you know, as we travel the country on our Love Your Parks tour, are you not connecting some of the stories Victoria has shared with us about artists across America as we travel? It's kind of happening for me.
I think this whole tour is connecting dots.
I know.
And that we didn't even expect to be there.
It's really interesting, and it's happening. Victoria sent us on a Love Your Parks tour story mission. As a lot of you know, Nancy and I travel full-time, documenting parks across the country as well as their communities. And also, we're kind of on this treasure hunt to do stories, and we're finding so much art for Victoria that she's going to have her own map just now on our nationalparktraveling.com of art across America, because if you don't think the arts are alive in the country, no matter what happens to funding, I'm here to tell you the arts are quite alive and thriving in so many ways. And as we talk with Victoria pretty much every month, we find out just how they're alive even through history. And today she's joining us from her home in Silver City, New Mexico, to talk about an artist that she knew about many years ago and rediscovered. And it's very exciting when that happens. But before we bring her on, I want to encourage you to go to her website, victoriachick.com. We also have an article about this artist, Aaron-Bohrod, up on our website, blendradioandtv.com. You can go check it out. Just type in Aaron, A-A-R-O-N, and I promise you it'll pop up. So, hey, how are you doing, Victoria?
Hey, it's great to talk to you. I am so happy to be here in Silver City when it's getting ready to rain.
Oh, very cool. So today we're recording from Florence, Colorado. We're getting ready to go back to Yuma, Arizona, and you're in Silver City. So we're kind of in that little weird triangle, and your weather is never that far away from us when we're in this region. I feel like when we were in Tucson or in Yuma, Arizona, we're always kind of connected, and I feel the same here in Southern Colorado with you in Silver City. It's not that
well. We are all in the Southwest, more or less, and we all have forests, and we all have interesting weather. Kind of dry sometimes, and so that's why the rain is kind of a treat today.
Yeah, no, I know it comes in and goes here. Here's very much like New Mexico in some ways, has that little scrub color, and I understand why artists are moving here. I understand why artists are moving to Silver City. But I want to dig into Aaron-Bohrod. Am I even pronouncing his name right? You know how I am.
Well, as far as I know, you are. Yes.
Oh, good.
That's exactly how I'd say it.
Okay, well, if you say it, then it's all good, right, Nancy? That's how
it's okay with me.
I know. So Aaron-Bohrod, I mean, because you've got an interesting career in art, and you've been doing this. When did you start? When was your first sketch? Do you think that you were like, I'm into this?
My first sketch.
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh. Well, I got in big trouble when I was a kid drawing with crayons on the walls of my bedroom.
Oh,
so
cool.
That may be my first one.
Oh, I love that. Because
cool.
And Aaron was born in 1907, but this is someone you found about when you were in art college, right?
Yeah, I was reading a review of his work, and it sort of, in one eye and out the other. It didn't stick with me until I came across a piece of his work that was at auction on eBay, and that was like 50-some years later, and it seemed familiar to me, and I bought the thing because I won the auction. So I was really thrilled, and when I got it, I was even more thrilled because his work was better than I had expected. I mean, I had seen a picture of it, but that was back in 1960s when reproduction wasn't great. So when I saw it in real life, it was really, really beautiful, and I was so happy that I'd gotten it.
You know,
And of course,
and this,
then I had to read up more about him. So that was fun too.
well, that's what I was saying about on our tour, and and we did think of you in Kansas because I remember talking about that one memorial of artists. We went through Kansas, we went through Missouri, and we went through not Chicago, Illinois. We did this really crazy trip back through from Kentucky to Colorado, and we were thinking of you the whole way because you're always talking about that region and Arkansas, Missouri, and Ohio, and Iowa, and all that region. And we're like, we're in Victoria land here. But it's interesting because you talk about these people, but you as a collector, you don't just collect, you dig into the history. And isn't that kind of tied into you and this effort with the Silver City Fine Art Museum too? It's about telling these artist stories.
Well, it is. I've collected so many things. I was, after we got the museum idea for Silver City, I started counting and cataloging what I have, and I realized that I had several hundred pieces of prints that what's going to happen to these when I'm gone? Who's going to get these? And so that was one of the reasons that I decided I would really like to pass them on to lots of people. And so the museum idea popped into my head because Silver City is a great art town, but it does not yet have an art museum. So we now have a board of directors for our art museum, and we're going to have our first meeting next month. So this is moving along.
That's awesome.
Very exciting, very exciting. Going back to Aaron-Bohrod in this print that you collected, because he was also a painter. And this is a print that I find really, really fascinating. And Nancy, we both resonated with it. And you were saying it's like going downtown Florence, Colorado, where we are.
It is.
In this area is
I took a look and I've been there.
Yeah.
I know that shop. And then
know.
I realized, like, whenever you're in a town, and there's lots of them, especially small towns that we visit, that will build themselves as the antique and collectibles capital.
Yes.
Because that's what they do. And then I realized, oh man, we've been looking at shop window after shop window that looks like this graphic.
Yeah.
And I totally like the cat because they have them, and like, okay, is this a feral cat? Is it in the inside of the shop or the outside? Because they're all over.
Yeah.
When I saw that on eBay, that the cat, one of the things that really attracted my attention, and you guys understand that.
Yes, cat lady.
But yeah, I've gone past shop window and antique flea market kind of thing. It really captures that that feeling that you get, that there's bound to be a treasure past those windows.
Yeah. And the reality is there's a reflection. So now you're seeing the other buildings in this picture. And there's here's that soldier's bust with that guy with the big handlebar mustache, or whatever you want to call that mustache. But then you have the shopkeeper sitting there going, I don't want you to come in because I'm really not in the mood, but I need you to come in and buy something. And I'm just and get out of my face.
She's busy knitting or something.
Exactly.
Yeah, she's like, I'm done. And it's that interesting collection of things in there that it's a conglomeration of stuff. There's no, it doesn't all come from one period. She's definitely got the antique thing going, I think, because it's all different.
Right.
Yeah, it's neat.
He was interested, or he drew on artifacts. I'll call it artifacts. Not that he dug them up. He was interested in what was meaningful to people in their lifetimes, and you can see this in some of his other paintings and his other lithographs too, because he uses these things in kind of a still life format, and they describe an individual very well. It's like what was important to them, and some of these are memorial pieces that he did, and some of them I think he just did it because he liked all the stuff that went into it.
Mm.
Wouldn't it be fun to like send somebody into an antique and collectibles, gotta always add that, shop and
Right.
say, give them a famous person's name and say, pick out like 10 objects that represent that person and see what they would pick
Yeah.
out. Wouldn't it be
Well,
fun?
yeah. Right. Yeah. Probably would have to be pretty well known person for that, but yeah, they could. I think they could, and it would be interesting to see what they thought represented the person.
Yeah,
Ooh, I see a new story series
I know.
starting up. That's a good one. I like that
Yeah.
a lot. I like that a lot. So Aaron-Bohrod, so he comes from like the Chicago, New York side of the world, right?
Right. Right. Yeah. He was born in Chicago. He went to the Art Institute for his initial study. Then he went to the Art Students League in New York, and one of his instructors there was John Sloan, who was a real well-known social realist painter at the time. He did a lot of like back alleys and people hanging their laundry out of their
Oh, cool.
third floor windows and stuff like that. So he and he was a really respected artist at that time. So I think there may have been some influence that rubbed off on Aaron-Bohrod as far as subject matter goes. But
Hmm.
when I look at his paintings, if his paintings don't seem to be talking about a class of people like John Sloan's paintings did. They
Mm.
seem very much more personal and introspective.
Hmm.
Even though he does city scenes and stuff like that, he doesn't put very much human work in his paintings. For instance, you might have one figure or a couple of figures, but they're very small figures, and they're kind of extraneous, except that they show the scale of where they are.
Hmm.
He does these architectural things. That's true. Even when he would go to a different area, and he'd visit small towns, for instance, and he'd have a corner of a small town, all the buildings that were there, but everything was kind of somewhat deserted.
Hmm. Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I'm not. I haven't decided what I think that he was trying to say.
Mm.
But I think whatever it was personal to him,
Hmm.
and he wasn't trying to narrate something that would try to convince people one way or another.
It's interesting because I mean he seems very realist, even just from that image that in the print that we have up there. And everyone, you can see the article again on blendradioandtv.com has the image. Just type in Aaron and you'll find it, Bohrod, or Victoria Chick, you'll find it there too. It seems that he's got that in amazing detail. It looks like pen and ink, like with like Nancy, like you used to do those dots. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, scratch.
Yeah, it looks like that
Well,
way.
yeah, it kind of does. It's a lithograph.
Mm-hmm.
It's done in crayon. The process is really interesting, I think, and it doesn't always work out, but when it does, it's really fantastic, and you get a lot of detail. But he's working on stone, a big, huge piece of 3-inch, probably limestone, and it's cut in a kind of a rectangular shape.
Mm.
You have to have 2 of them to do one of these lithographs, because you put kind of a grit on one surface, you wet it down, you put the other lithographic slab on top of it, and you run them together. You sort of scrape in a butterfly shape one stone against the other, and that smooths them down. And then you rinse all that off. You start drawing on it with this crayon, which is a greasy crayon, and
Wow.
then when you get your drawing done, and obviously he puts a lot of detail into his drawing. You pound rosin on it. You pour turpentine over it, and your drawing disappears. and that's really scary.
Yeah.
But it comes back. It comes back again because you wet it down again, and you have a roller and you ink up the roller and you run the roller across. Well, every place where you have drawn
Mm.
will attract the ink that you're putting on, because so oil attracts oil, and that's why you keep it wet, because the other areas where you haven't put a mark on with crayon, they stay clear, they stay white.
Mm. Wow.
And then you run it through. You put a piece of paper on it. You run it through a press, and the ink transfers to your paper. So it's quite an involved procedure, and it got really popular in I'd say it was the late 40s and the early 50s, because there were all these stones, these lithographic stones from Germany, where most of the limestone comes from that is suitable for these stones. So
Wow.
because it's very, very, very fine-grained limestone is what is used. And so a lot of universities were the beneficiaries of these stones, because there were thousands of them that came to the United States.
Wow. Wow.
Hmm.
We
Yeah.
really learned about all of this. And so, and from what we just learned in central Kentucky, we're in Springfield, and, the heart of bourbon country. That's why their bourbon is so good, is because they got limestone and good water.
Yes,
You know?
yes. Unfortunately, it's not the kind of limestone that makes lithograph stones. So,
No.
but it's a limestone. Yeah,
Wow.
and that's why they have that wonder. That's why they have Mammoth Cave too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's cool.
Which we're going to have to do when we go back.
I think in a way you have to, when you're an artist and you're going to make a lithograph, you kind of have to think forwards and backwards. Like,
Well, yeah, and whatever you draw, in a lot of whatever you draw, when it goes through the press, it's going to be reversed
exactly.
too. So that's kind of a shock to
It
when
is.
you experience that for the first time. You think this doesn't look right, but it's exactly what was on there. So it's just reversed.
Yeah,
Wow.
because when you work in scratchboard, it's kind of similar in that, in oil paints, you're going to go get the whitish kind of paint to put the glint of the pupil of the eye, and you're going to get dark paint to put in the pupil of the eye. And then in scratchboard, you're doing the opposite. You're not going to touch the black part of the scratchboard very much. And that's
And
why
the first time it's hard. It's hard to think that way.
You think backwards. And the
And
first time I did it was really gross.
Well, see, it would be easy, I think, to start out, knowing what you need to do, and then somewhere in mid drawing, you get your mind says, I'm rejecting this idea.
Yeah, it's like, this sucks.
And you start working the way you're not supposed to work. So it is tricky, very tricky.
Mm-hmm. It is. No, and then I tried making my own scratchboard. That was fun. I won't be doing that again, but it was interesting because you press this chalk into this board, and then you take crayons and scribble different colors, and you cover it with India ink, and then you scratch it off. And I'm like, well, I'm just really messing with my mind here because I can't do it.
It's interesting because he also did Trump delay paintings, right? Oh, did I do that?
Trump?
Yeah.
Trump delay. Say that. I got to say that right.
There's so many different ways to work with so many different media, and a lot of them require some big adjustments in the way you operate and think.
Yeah.
Well, he seemed to be very much of a, I'm going to do this in whatever format I want. He didn't seem to stick to one way, and I'm only going to paint or use this as my subject. He seemed to be open to different mediums and subjects, but be a little bit more on the realist side. Did I get that part right about him?
Yeah. Well, he was primarily a painter, and I realized this when I started researching him, and I could find very few lithographs that he had done, and I found lots and lots of paintings. and all of his paintings weren't the same. Some of the landscapes he did, for instance, he was working a very loose brush, and there's these he's creating a realistic setting scene, but it's not terribly detailed. So then he went to these other kinds of paintings that he did that were reminiscent of, you remember the Dutch 17th century when we talked about that, and how they had these things called the vanitas paintings that were still lifes where every flower meant a certain thing, or a skull was in there, or a candle that was going out. Everything had a meaning. And he did some still lifes that were in neutral colors, where he would have worn surfaces, and he would have children's toys that were not new, they were stuff, and or he would do photographs. He would paint a photograph, or what looked like a photograph, and those were in extreme detail. The edges were crisp. I mean, it was more like something you see when you dream, where everything is clear to you. And so he had different ways of working, and those kind of paintings kind of tied in the style that he developed of being very careful and very realistic and very careful in his drawing. Those tied in with his lithographs. And I think
Hey there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought everybody disappeared there for a second.
I thought you'd gone away too.
I know.
That's so funny.
Dippy. Okay. But now he also did work in regards to being an artist for the Corps of Engineers in the Pacific Theater of World War II. So he was like an art war correspondent. I know Nancy and I have had the pleasure of interviewing Chip Beck, who I think is an amazing artist, photographer, cartoonist. His genre his medium he does whatever he wants to. But he's a war correspondent, and he was stationed in Kenya, so I had a connection with him over the years. And I never realized about these war correspondents going out there using art as a medium. And I mean, he went around. I think Chip's been to I'm going to say 70 countries or something as a correspondent, and has done so many wars. But I didn't realize how, we've talked over the years how art has always shown what's going on in the world and in history, but then there's the art of the war correspondent that shows what's going on there. That is something really fascinating, that there's photography, but to go out there and actually sketch and paint and that's a whole other deal.
Right. I'm not sure when Bohrod was a war correspondent, but he was doing it for Life magazine. If you remember Life magazine. So, but before that, I somehow knew he was an artist, and he had done art kind of things working as an engineer for the war effort. And he was in the Pacific area doing that. And so I think his war correspondent days probably weren't when he was actively on duty. They probably occurred, slightly after that. And it may have been because he was there in the Pacific Theater during World War II. He might have been a war correspondent during the Korean War. Korean conflict. So I'm not sure, because I couldn't nail down any real facts about that that aspect of it.
Wow.
When I was researching.
Wow. And he lived to 95. That's a good life.
Yeah, I'll say. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he taught. When he went back to he was friends with all kinds of people that we've talked about. And he wound up teaching at the University of Wisconsin. He was taught in the art department there for quite a long time. And the university eventually named one of their art galleries after him,
Wow.
which is kind of a nice honor. Yeah.
That's nice.
Don't you ever want to meet the artists that you collect, or no? Or do you have that, like, I respect your art,
Oh yeah.
but like I may not have this, like, I may not share these kind of views with you because art gets, subjective, or, you know what I mean? Do you
Yeah.
meet them?
I think it would be interesting, because some of these, every artist that I've collected, and then I've done the research on, because some of the artists I've collected, they've been well known, and there's a lot of facts drifting around about them, but there's a lot of artists that I've collected that I just like them because I like the image, and when at the moment I collect them, I don't know who they are really, and so after I retired, that was really a nice thing to do, to be able to go back and learn more about the people whose work I really like. And every single one of them has had such an interesting life. It's amazing. One guy who was supposed to be blind by the time he was 10 years old, and he came to Canada from London, and he wound up being a fabulous artist. Every job he ever had in the long life that he lived required visual acuity. Because he never, his prognosis was he was going to be blind, and that never happened.
Wow.
But his life changed because of that prognosis.
Wow.
That's
there was another guy who was going to be. He had tuberculosis, and he was given 6 months to live. So he came to New Mexico, and he finally died when he was 78.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
So you never know in life what's going to happen, where you're headed. Really, sometimes you think you're headed into one direction and things change.
Well, sometimes those kind of things happen where they push you in the right direction. We just interviewed a musician who went legally blind, and he's a teacher, and he's a lead singer of a band, and it's straight up, it's a lively band. It's not we're sitting down, and he's had to learn. And I asked him, well, how does this change you? And does it help you? And he was like, well, as a teacher, it's really helped him teach kids to get over their challenges. And he said it did help him develop a whole other set of tools and ways to live life. And he's a very positive human being. And I'm sure there's downtimes of it, but he said, like, he had to watch because he's going to fall off the stage, so he had to learn how to, develop more of his vocals and not do as much of his stage performance, but be able to stand there and deliver just as much. So it changed how he did things, and it changed him if he hadn't gone legally blind, he would be in sports to this day. And he was, now he has this other career that he's really good at, and he's, shares a very positive message out there. And so it turned out to be, you'd never know what would be, the better thing, but it turned out for us, hearing his music, I'm like, yeah, I'm glad I know about you, so.
Yes.
But that's what's so cool about the arts, is that it encompasses more than one personality of a person.
Oh,
yes.
You might think, oh, I'm a painter and that's all I'm going to do and that's all I can do. And it turns out later you can also write, and, or play the flute or something else. So, it's like we limit ourselves.
Look at Grace Slick and Joni Mitchell. Both of these women turn out to be, the rockers of Woodstock, and look at their paintings. Amazing work. I mean, really amazing paintings. Who would know that? But I don't know. They're good. They're good. I think,
Well,
I like it. Let me just say that. That's how I feel about art. It's like, well, I like it. I think they're really good. But somebody may look at them and go, well, they suck. I don't know. Everybody's got their, but, who knows?
Well, yeah, the ability to express yourself in more than one medium is a real gift. I'm sorry that I can't sing as well as they can.
I can after rum and coke.
Oh yeah. Oh,
yeah.
good.
Oh, okay. All right.
No, I think those two women had their own. No one can touch their voices. They are who they are, and I think that's the other thing about art is, you go through that stages when you start. You're learning. You're trying to do the different styles of the different masters, whether it's in voice or, or painting or sketching. In the arts, you kind of learn from others, but then you get to that point where you have to develop your own who you
Right.
are. And that's a very interesting stage. And it's interesting because when you see artists or musicians at a very young place where they just do, hey, I'm doing this. Sometimes it was actually the better times than sometimes. I don't know. It's just an
Yeah.
interesting when you look at people's careers when they've had a full life of art, whatever mode or medium it is. It's interesting to see where they are. And then at the end stage of their life, they don't care. I really don't care now. Here it is, like it or not. And I really like that. It's like it's real.
Yeah.
There is no, frills. It's straight up. It's not over polished. Let's put it that way.
Or trying
Well,
to just be
I mean,
marketing.
your life experiences go into whatever creative endeavor you're involved in. And I can remember being in school, and or maybe even earlier than that. Taking a picture home to show my folks, and they getting praise for that, which is important when you're little. But when you can't get beyond that, and you're in school and you're painting because you want to paint like your instructor, and that's a phase a lot of people go through. Some people never get out of it, and so they become miniature or little versions of their instructors, and they can't get beyond that. Or if they only read about music, or only do music, or only do painting, and only read about that, or involve and stick around people who are doing the same thing, I think that can be stultifying.
Yes.
And I did not understand. I did not understand how that could affect me until I got a lot older and had an experience as an art therapist, and I developed more empathy for other people, and I think that I think I learned from a lot of things outside the art world that made me a better painter.
Yeah, because when you think about it, a painter that's locked up in the basement, there's that idea of like the artist just, the starving artist in the basement just painting and going crazy. Then that's where are you? I mean, you're just, what are you doing? If you
I
don't have,
want to be on the first floor and go crazy. I don't want to be in the basement.
yeah, I know. We just watched something. On, don't even, Netflix stuff, and we just watched that about an
there's all
artist.
kinds of techniques. There's all kinds of techniques, and you can learn that. But you've got to learn what are you going to say with it, what you can do. I mean, what are you painting, and why are you painting what you're painting? Other than the fact that you know how to move paint around. I mean, there's something beyond the technique.
Oh, yeah. And the best is when you can say, okay, and I think you have to learn the technique before you can mess with it. So
yes.
Once you learn the technique, you can go, well, I don't like that so much. I'm going to mess with it and change it my way. And then it either works or it doesn't. But the problem with if it works or it doesn't is really like, how do you decide that worked or it didn't? Do you decide it worked because you later could sell it? Or did you decide it worked because that's exactly the result you wanted? And then if you go, that's the result I wanted, and it doesn't sell, then you're like, well, bummer.
Well, or you may like it so much that you wouldn't want to sell it at all,
Exactly.
So, I mean, when a long time ago, when I would paint something, I would think, well, I can never do any better than that, and so I wouldn't want to get rid of it. And then, later on, I would do something better, and so I wasn't so attached to the earlier one. So,
It's so funny how
I
we
was
are.
willing to sell it.
You
Yeah,
know,
we are weird.
We
at one,
are.
now I
We
have to
are.
say, at one point when I was painting people's portraits, which I should never ever do, but it was part of the tour we were doing in South Africa, and it was billed that I would do that. And
Yeah.
it was really, because there's a part of me that turned everybody into a cartoon, and that's not what they wanted. They wanted like a real painting of them,
Sure.
and I'd get to their like whatever feature stood out to me got bigger. Like if you had a
Yeah.
long nose, boy, did I make it long. And then I was like, oh God, now I got to cut it off and get it back. And then they'd say, my nose isn't that long. I'm like, fine, let me take your nose off altogether. And I'm like, this is not what I meant to do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
you know, because I wanted, somehow everybody became cartoons. And I realized I just think people are funny.
Well, Victoria, I remember when we started our Love Your Parks tour, which is Spirit America tour, way back when, and came out to Silver City, and we interviewed you about the 8 keys of excellence, and you chose the first key of excellence to talk about, and you had the shortest video clip of anybody to this day, and you're like, art is integrity, and there's nothing more to say
Yeah.
about that. It's like you have integrity with it or you don't, and that's the truth, right? Isn't that what comes down to?
Yeah. That's it.
Mhm.
In fact, you know, I went back and I was messing around on the computer, and I went back and looked at a lot of old stuff, and I did look at and I looked at what everybody had to say about their word, and there's so much experience behind their answers, and it was fun. It was really fun to look at those again.
Yeah, the 8 keys of excellence are cool, and everyone check it out, 8keys.org. It's a really cool character development program, character education for kids and families. We use it for adults because we think we got to go back. But anyway, and both. But it's a really cool free program, so check that out. But yeah, I thought when you just said, listen, it's integrity. You can't have, if you don't do art with integrity, it's not art. It's not real. And I thought that,
Well,
it's true, you know.
yeah, you as the artist will never be satisfied. Other people might not be aware of it, but you will be. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
awesome.
It's important. Yeah, it's important.
Yeah, for
Thank
sure.
you so much, Victoria. It's almost every conversation. We always go off into other tangents. Now today we got, all kinds of good
We
lessons.
never know.
You never know, but very good conversation, and always just, I love like sharing these stories on these artists. I think it's important that
Right.
they don't. Art is supposed to continue in life. It's those stories,
Yep.
those messages are supposed to continue. So you're definitely part of that. And everyone, again, it's Aaron-Bohrod, Aaron for Aaron, Bohrod. Bohrod. And you can see the article up on blendradioandtv.com right now. It'll also be featured in the fall issue of Big Blend Radio and TV magazine. Same website. Best thing to do is to get our newsletter. Then you'll be updated with our radio shows and magazines and articles, all free, but only once a week. And of course, keep up with Victoria. Go to victoriachick.com. You'll see her prints on her website. You'll see her art. That's most important. And keep up with her as she develops this amazing museum with her board and everyone collaborating with this. Silver City is an amazing art destination, but it really becomes a true destination when a fine art museum is part of that makeup, that structure or foundation of art. So it's a very exciting time, Victoria. We're excited.
Well, it is.
Awesome.
Yeah, and fall is an exciting time here too, because we've got the weekend at the galleries. We've got Day of the Dead, big Day of the Dead parade, which is really exciting, and well, not puppets exactly, but people on stilts in costume for the Day of the Dead. It'll be great.
Cool.
And also, to more seriously, the Gila River Festival is coming up, and so that was, and you're mentioning books, and we've got the Southwest Festival of the Written Word, which is like a 3 or 4 day event. We get authors all over the place. We got workshops and things. So there's always a lot going on here.
There is. It's a haven of the arts, and it's a beautiful destination. Also, when you go there, there's a Gila National Forest, Gila National Wilderness Area. You know, actually one of the first wilderness areas in the country.
Oh yeah.
Huge forest, millions of acres, and also the Gila Cliff Dwellings National Monument. So you want to do that this fall and do it before the snow comes, and do that in the snow. Well, actually, I would, but I need like someone to take me there. I don't have the car for it. But anyway,
Right.
everyone again, VictoriaChick.com. We're going to close this segment off with a song called "Waiting" because Victoria waited for a long time to get this print, this lithograph from Aaron-Bohrod. She didn't know it, but you know, sometimes you have that like, oh, I like this art, and then suddenly it appears magically into your life. So this is a song called "Waiting." It is by Kwame Benet and the Shakedown, and I also want to play it because when we first connected with Kwame Benet and the Shakedown, and they shake it down. They were in Harlem, New York, and so you know, and now they're in New Jersey, but they tour all over the country and all over that area, and still play New York and all those great areas. But so keep up with them at Kwame Benet Shakedown. Rumor has it at KwameBenetShakedown.com. Rumor has it a new album is coming out real soon.
Oh, cool.
So, I know. I was actually talking with them about it today. So everyone, keep posted with Victoria at VictoriaChick.com. Thanks so much, Victoria.
Thanks,
Oh,
Victoria.
thank you guys.
I've been walking down this road, seeing the world passing me by. Though my feet are getting tired, I won't let you down. I've been waiting for so long, for my day, my time to come. I'll take my chances with these songs, 'cause I know it won't be too long. Yes, this road's been tough. Had to pick myself back off the ground, but I see the light on the other side. Yes, I know it won't be too long. I've been waiting for so long, for my day, my time to come. I'll take my chances with these songs, 'cause I know it won't be too long. I've been waiting for my day and my time to come. I've been patient, I've been focused, and I've been strong. I've been waiting for my day and my time to come. I've been patient, I've been focused, and I've been strong. I've been waiting for my day and my time to come. I've been waiting, I've been waiting, I've been. I've been waiting for so long, for my day, my time to come. I'll take my chances with these songs, 'cause I know